Good day, everyone. I'd like to welcome you back to Contemplating Catholicism. I'd like to contemplate something a little bit different today. It concerns this book by Yuval Noah Harari called Sapiens. This was a bestseller back in the day. It's been 10 years now since it's been published, but back in 2015, it was a hot seller. Bill Gates recommended it. Barack Obama recommended it. He gives a brief history of Sapiens and a lot of conjecture going back to the beginning. And he says that at some point human beings became distinct from the other animals and from the chimpanzee family. He said just over 6 million years ago, a single female ape had two daughters. One became an ancestor of all chimpanzees. The other is our own grandmother. So if you want to know ultimately where your grandmother came from, Harari can tell you it came from a chimpanzee, the twins. But again, pure conjecture. Nothing to substantiate it. And then he makes, toward the end of the book, a profound statement that is very ignorant when he says this. For close to 4 billion years, every single organism on the planet evolved subject to natural selection. Of course, going back to Darwin and Darwin's theory of evolution, that everything was subject to that for 4 billion years. Not even one was designed by an intelligent creator. And my question at that point is, how do you know that? I mean, he's a historian. But he wasn't there 4 billion years ago, and he hasn't been in existence for 4 billion years to make such a statement. It's a statement of faith. He's saying from his faith, which is agnostic, he's from a Jewish background, but doesn't believe in an intelligent creator. So what are you left with when you reject an intelligent creator? Well, you become your own creator. You become your own God. And that's exactly what happens at the end of this book. He says that we are becoming our own creator. We don't need a creator anymore because even though this natural selection's been going on for 4 billion years, now we've reached the threshold where we become our own creator. I can't help but think of early Genesis and the Tower of Babel. When mankind came together and decided we are going to build this tower and reach to the heavens. We're going to become our own God. We're going to reach heaven ourselves. And it's interesting how it's put in Genesis that God came down to see what they were doing. You think you're building yourself up to God, and God had to come down and see it, as it's stated in Genesis. That society, God confused their languages. They had to scatter. There was a certain point they reached where God said, well, that's enough. You've demonstrated your ignorance enough. You've rejected me. You think you can be your own God, that you can build your own tower to heaven. And that's where we're at again as mankind. Particularly now, when we look at some of the technology of AI, combining that with robotics and perhaps down the line what's going to be implemented in our own bodies, that we can combine the best of technology with our own bodies and we can become our own God. That's basically what he says in this book. He says, but as the 21st century unfolds, it's no longer the case to be subject to this natural selection. Homo sapiens, we are transcending those limits. We can get beyond those things. It's now beginning to break the laws of natural selection and replacing them with the laws of intelligent design. Interesting, intelligent design, he says. It's one of the apologetical arguments that we have is that if you look at creation, you can see that an intelligent designer designed all these things. But of course, Harari, he rejects that. And he says, in place of that, we become our own intelligent designer. That's where we're at today. People are thinking, well, yes, because of this technology, because we are so smart, we've arrived at this point, we're no longer subject to those other laws, we become our own God. Today, he goes on to say in his afterword, which is entitled, The Animal That Became a God, we're transcending this species of being Homo sapien. Now we become our own God. He says, today it stands on the verge of becoming a God, opposed to acquire not only eternal youth, but also the divine abilities of creation and destruction. We can create ourselves. When was the last time that human beings created ex nihilo? That something is created out of nothing, as we are told that God did. The book of Hebrews tells us that he created ex nihilo, out of nothing. He brought something into existence because he just spoke it into existence. We can take things and we can reconfigure it, we can combine it with things, but we don't create things. And he's right, though, we can destroy. Mankind's done a great job at that, destroying itself, destroying the planet, destroying what God has created here. But I can't help but wonder, are we approaching a time again, a Babylon moment? This tower that was built when God says, that's enough. That's enough of your arrogant thinking that you can become God yourself. There's only one God in the universe, and that's Jehovah God, the Almighty, the Holy One, the great I am. When will God say, that's enough? Thank you very much.